Why? Why in the hell would you do this? Why would you inject yourself into this conversation when you spent your entire rookie season trying to distance yourself from this exact conversation? So, why in the hell would you be saying this now? If you're Caitlin Clark, this is supposed to be your moment. This is supposed to be your time to shine. Time Magazine is honoring you. They're not honoring past or present dump divers. Time Magazine is honoring you with the award for Athlete of the Year. So why in the hell would you direct the spotlight away from yourself and put it on people who not only didn't win the award, you're putting the spotlight on people who don't even like you. They don't want you in their league. Since Rhythm and Flow Season 2 has been an absolute disaster, matter of fact, Season 2 of Rhythm and Flow is the early favorite for the 2025 Huge Embarrassing Failure Awards next year. But since Season 2 has been dreadful, I have been rewatching Season 1 with my wife. She has never seen it before, so it's a new viewing experience for her. But there is a scene in Season 1 of Rhythm and Flow that I have never forgotten. The aspiring artists, they are performing features on hit songs with already established artists. There's a dude on the show, his name is Flawless Real Talk, and he replaces Kendrick Lamar's verse on Jhené Aiko's hit Stay Ready. Long story short, Flawless kills the performance. He was literally flawless. Crowd gives him a standing ovation. The judges, they are laying the praise on really thick. In the midst of all the praise, in the midst of all the accolades that he's receiving, in the midst of his moment, Flawless Real Talk, he starts talking about and praising Kendrick Lamar. T.I., one of the judges and Uncle KC's favorite rapper growing up, T.I. interrupts Flawless Real Talk and says, "What the hell are you doing? This is your moment. Why are you giving your spotlight to someone else? If you're a superstar, you keep the spotlight on you at all times. You never give someone else your shine." Throughout the entirety of the WNBA season, Caitlin Clark willingly shared her spotlight with anonymous players. She shared the spotlight with unknown players who were jealous of her. She shared the spotlight with players who were talking shit about her. She even shared the spotlight with former WNBA players who never wasted an opportunity to discredit or downplay the impact that Caitlin Clark was having on pretend basketball. Now you gotta remember, no one was paying attention to this dump. For 30 years, the WNBA laid a mountain of turds and they couldn't convince a starving fly to even sniff it. Caitlin Clark comes into the league in the eyes of America. They're on pretend basketball for the first time. She shared that spotlight all season, which is fine. Fine. I guess Caitlin Clark was trying to kill them with kindness, but the problem is it ain't working, which is why I was incredibly confused when Caitlin Clark once again shared the spotlight while accepting Time's award for Athlete of the Year. Not only did she share the spotlight, she also injected her name into a conversation that she spent the entire summer trying to distance herself from. While accepting this award from Time Magazine for Athlete of the Year, Caitlin Clark, she made sure to highlight her mythical white privilege. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Link to the second channel in the description below. Talked about college football on the second channel this morning with Alabama head coach Kalen DeBoer being on the hot seat. So if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the second channel. You know, I'm starting to wonder if Caitlin Clark is doing this to try to fit in with her colleagues. I wonder if Caitlin Clark is doing this to make herself relatable to minimum wage earners in the WNBA who can't afford to put quality toilet paper on the dispenser. Hey, ladies and Bob Griner, it's me, KDC. I know you guys are struggling, and I recognize that I'm only here due to my white privilege, but I honored all of you in Time Magazine. Can we be friends? Peer pressure, the need to feel accepted. These are strong needs when you are younger. As you get older, you start to care less and less about what other people think of you. But when you're young, when you're Caitlin Clark's age, that shit really matters. The opinions of your peers, it can carry more weight than the opinion of your parents, your family. No one wants to be the outcast. No one wants to be singled out. Even though she didn't show it, I imagine this past season was incredibly difficult for Caitlin Clark. She spent 4 years at Iowa where she was the hometown hero. Have you ever heard the phrase, rejection is God's protection? That is especially true with Caitlin Clark. She wanted to go to UConn, but I'm pretty sure she was rejected by Gino Auriemma, ends up staying home, ends up going to Iowa, where she spent 4 years building a fan base. She spent 4 years building a loyal following that played a critical role in propelling her into the superstardom that she has today. The way Caitlin Clark became a superstar, it is literally the old school method of building a star. It's how Michael Jordan did it. It's how rappers used to do it in the 90s and 2000s. First, you become a star at home, then you take over the mainstream. 4 years at Iowa, Caitlin Clark was beloved. She had the support of friends and family. She had the support of the entire state. She comes into the WNBA and it is completely different. She goes from being loved to being vilified. She goes from being the hometown hero to being public enemy number one. She was literally left off the Olympic team, all because of her so-called white privilege. I imagine it was a difficult transition, especially mentally for Caitlin Clark, which is why I am trying to give her some grace here, trying to be understanding. I'm trying to figure out why she would say what she said to Time Magazine. Time Magazine interviewed Caitlin Clark as they were honoring her with the award for Athlete of the Year. Not Female Athlete of the Year. Caitlin Clark was named Athlete of the Year, and deservedly so. No one had a greater impact on sports in 2024 than Caitlin Clark. But during the interview, the inevitable topic of race was brought up, since, we can no longer talk about athletes without their race being involved. Caitlin Clark said, "I have earned every single thing, but as a white person, there is privilege." You should have stopped at, "I've earned every single thing." Caitlin Clark has earned her spot. She busted her ass her entire life to get where she is. Nothing was given to her. This is the part of the interview where I would have asked, tell me about your white privilege. If you've earned everything, how have you benefited from white privilege? Give me an example, just one example. I guarantee you, Caitlin Clark wouldn't be able to do it. Let me ask you something. Where is the white privilege in the WNBA? Can you even name another white player besides Caitlin Clark that's currently playing in the WNBA? Well, Casey, what about Kelsey Plum? She's a huge star. Kelsey the Plumber? The star of Roto-Rooter? I said, name another white player in the WNBA. I didn't say name a white plumber. I know plenty of those. You drive down the streets of neighborhoods across America and you can find plenty of white plumbers. They're easy to recognize. They're the ones bent over in the front yard with their boodle catching the fresh morning breeze. Caitlin Clark continued by sharing the spotlight that she earned with current and former players who treated her like shit all season. A lot of the players who have been really good have been black players. Our league was built by them. We must appreciate, highlight, and talk about them while continuing to invest in those players who made our league incredible. It's very important, and I have to be the one to change that. The Indiana Felines might have fired head coach Christy Sides, but you can tell by that response, Caitlin Clark was well coached. For starters, if those players that Caitlin Clark is referencing built an incredible league, how come no one was watching it? Well, KC, it's because they weren't being invested in. They weren't being put on television. Oh, yeah? Why weren't they being invested in? The WNBA has been on TV for decades. No one was watching. First 2 or 3 years of their existence, they were given time slots on NBC. They could not convince people to watch because their product was painfully boring. It was the exact opposite of incredible. But here's my biggest problem with what Caitlin Clark said, and I'm bringing this up because she spent the entire season trying to distance herself from these racially charged conversations. Why are we separating players by their race? Why are we talking about black players and white players? When I talk about Michael Jordan, I don't say Michael Jordan was a great black player. I say Michael Jordan was the greatest ever. Same thing with Drew Brees, same thing with Tom Brady, same thing with Patrick Mahomes. I don't say Patrick Mahomes is a great black quarterback. I say Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback right now in the NFL, best quarterback of his generation. Even with LeBron James, I don't refer to LeBron James as a top 2 or top 3 black player in NBA history. I say LeBron is one of the best to ever play. Now, obviously, I don't exaggerate his greatness like Shannon Sharp. Hey, it's me, Shay Shay! I don't call LeBron the GOAT because, well, he's not. He might be the Billy Goat, but he ain't Michael Jordan, and he never will be. I just don't understand why Caitlin Clark is injecting herself into this conversation. I don't get it. Trying to give her some grace, though. Trying to be understanding, because I know it's probably been a difficult transition, but this is very disappointing, and she better be careful. The WNBA better be careful. This league is 100% reliant on Caitlin Clark. If she pisses off her fan base, the WNBA returns to irrelevance. Now, do I think these comments were enough to do that? No, but if she continues down this path, if she does what she said she's going to do and try to change that perception or whatever the hell she was talking about, will Caitlin Clark alienate her supporters? You tell me. If Caitlin Clark makes a habit of denouncing mythical white privilege and becoming part of a racial conversation, do you think she will alienate her fan base? Will she piss them off to the point where they quit supporting her, which means they quit watching the WNBA? You tell me. Sound off in the comments below. Best way to contact me is through email, btlkc84@gmail.com. See you guys tomorrow.